I'm here. It's not like the Twitter post that I made of that really simple drawing where I was like, oh, surely I won't get caught up playing anything, whatever it may be. Surely I'll get Arc 9 done today, or I'll, you know, write more of ADT, or I'll do more of the teasers for ADT and all that sort of stuff. And then, the image or the drawing rather hard cuts to me just kind of playing on a computer of a very specific game that you can tell by the lines on it. Yeah, no, we're here. I actually did properly sit my ass down because I was curious, right? I was legitimately curious to actually go through it, all that sort of shit. And I mean, I pretty much stated that with the reaction. I said that we were going to do this, and what do you know? I did, in fact, sit my ass down and read. But we are here. And more specifically, if you haven't seen the previous video, the Niab talks about Festa, or Niab talks Festa. I actually don't remember which way I named it, but regardless, one of the two. If you haven't seen that video, at least the halfway point of that video, yeah, this is where we are now. There is no more me dealing with a really shitty tripod that's in that corner that I'm staring at, right? There's no more camera over here, right, that I would place on top of like a dresser and just point at me, right? That dresser is actually right here now. But there's no more of that, right? It is entirely just this, the computer. It is connected to, the mic that I pretty much always use for the big videos, all that sort of stuff. It's the proper camera from when I put it on the dresser, so it's high quality, much higher quality, sorry, than the camera, right? Like the other one, because that one is old. Yeah, it's perfect. And we are like directly in the middle of some good light. So it is really damn great. But we're here. We actually get to have the shelves behind us and everything. I get to stand and talk, which I love to do, right? You probably know from the previous reviews. I love to do that. It's real damn good. And if I ever feel like it, I can also make it go into sitting mode. And then, of course, because we have it angled this way and, it's all set up like this, I get to do that. That's pretty fucking cool, isn't it? So, with all that said, we got a lot to essentially talk about today because we got a whole ass Arc 9 volume, and it is real damn good. I cannot wait to speak about these chapters, and I'm gonna try and resist talking about Arc 5 in terms of like its anime because I want to save that for my reaction channel and where I actually get to the end of it. Maybe I'll make a video on the channel if you guys are interested. I might, right? Especially if I see, some I'm not trying to like incentivize like, oh, you should comment, right? But I'm more so saying if there are some comments mentioning like, oh yeah, feel free to just make a video and like to talk about all the stuff you enjoy, you have maybe have some critiques of whatever it may be. I'm all for doing that, right? But I'm gonna avoid that for this video because that is not what this video is related to. Would love to talk about it, but we won't get there just yet, at least till either later or just on the reaction next week. But speaking of stuff in regards to next week, technically speaking, right, depending on time, you are all seeing this on Saturday, right? So, interesting thing is if you are seeing this prior to, I'm going to say 1 a.m. EST, maybe not even 1 a.m. EST because I might even start by then. But if you were seeing this prior to 1 a.m. EST, I will be back here on this channel live tonight because we have the trailer for Arc 6 coming out, right? It is pretty much guaranteed to be Arc 6 at this point. There is like literally nothing otherwise. People in the cast are talking about fourth season, all this sort of shit. It's like it's obvious at this point it's Arc 6, right? They haven't revealed Rui, right? Rui's voice hasn't been revealed. They're not going to reveal it in an episode. They're of course going to reveal it in a trailer. So yeah, we're probably going to get Rui's voice reveal there. We might get Shaola's, which I would also be pretty cool with, right? Both of those characters I like a lot. But yeah, I'll be back here tonight, when you're all seeing this, and we'll be able to watch that as well. I'll probably also record my reaction to it and then, properly upload it to the channel because the stream of it will be unlisted after the fact. Anyways, I digress. Let us actually talk about Arc 9 because that's what we're here for. So, time to go back to the antics of Aldebaran, or Aldebaran. I don't know why I fucked that up. I almost made the second one fucked up, even though, you know what, who cares? So, going off of the cliffhanger from the previous volume, we knew some shit was gonna go down, right? Fucking Reinhard is here, directly in front of him. This was very obviously gonna lead into some shit, and I was real curious because the thing we know about Al is, as much as he has this domain sort of thing, like this territory, problem with it is while it can do a lot for him in the sense of, oh yeah, it's a return by death sort of thing, it should be noted that, you know, he isn't inherently strong, right? He is decently kind of average, I guess, right? He's well built, though he does have one arm, right? And I mean, he has this ability, but that's about it, right? He has some magic in there. It's not any insane magic. So to have him go up against Reinhard, the ReZero's Goku, if you will, is really fucking insane as a matchup. This should not happen, realistically. This would be a stop. And it pretty much is, because something to also point out is Al has a lot of tricks up his sleeves. He got a whole lot of plans that he just has on the ready. He's got spells that fucking like Echidna taught him that are at the most like extreme level. Like we know from when he sealed Subaru and Beatrice that, you know, he had some shit, right, in terms of that sort of stuff. But like here as well, we really see it, right? Stuff that's similar to what Sphinx was doing back in fucking Arc 8, right? And yet Reinhard is dealing with all of it. He doesn't give a shit what Al throws at him. He just deals with it constantly over and over. And there are tons of loops here for Al. And it just all culminates in the finale of it, where Al just beaten, bruised on the ground. I'm pretty sure the Dragon Al also pretty beaten. Reinhard's just standing there. But then Al makes the surprising reveal that he has some accomplices. And those accomplices have kidnapped Heinkel. So now he already has leverage over Reinhard. And he makes sure that this is not a jest or anything that he's providing. It's the absolute truth. He gives every reason possible for why he's telling the truth. And there's no reason for Reinhard to doubt him. He just digs right into Reinhard's wounds in terms of what's been inflicted, both physically and mentally, by learning about this hostage, by making a comment about Teresia and how essentially he was responsible for her death, right? But then the biggest fucking play in his plan that I think none of us could have expected. So here's the thing. Picture the thing. But here's the actual thing. Back when we had the first volume of Arc 9, one of the important notes of that was that Subaru found his book again, right? Just like he did in Arc 6 and everything. His book was found once again. Now, nobody could read this except him because it was written in, you know, his actual name and everything. But he didn't want to have somebody experience this, especially if it caused the same sort of problem as it previously had done, right? That was smart. That was really smart, right? You know, he hit it. Nobody had to deal with that anymore. Great, right? That was a smart play. Because we now have confirmation as of this volume. It makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. And I didn't even consider it before until I read this. But this is exactly why the ending of Arc 6 happened the way it did. Because, let's cut back to Arc 4 for a minute. When that whole scenario happened with Subaru and Echidna in Arc 4, where he mentioned that he could return by death, that made Satella appear in the real world because she couldn't actually connect to him in a sense, right? She couldn't stop it from happening, whatever it may be, so she kind of just appeared. Similarly, Arc 6's finale. She couldn't necessarily come out, right? Because this was a book. This was info stored in a book. So what the fuck is she supposed to do, right? So, with those two in mind, Subaru's book was hidden away. Or at least we thought. Because I'll at least presumably, I'm just saying this off of a presumption because I didn't see anything in the text mentioning this, but presumably she at some point was, watching them, because it should be noted, he sealed them before that book was, or not before, sorry, I'm mixing up the timeline here. He sealed them after the book was put away, right? Because they put the book away, he walks into the room, they go, whoa, and then they fall down, and then, you all light comedy scene into talking with him, and then grab, right? So, with that said, it is fair to presume that Al, while they have this book and they're like, oh, we gotta hide this and everything, it is fair to assume. I said presume there, which was a little odd in terms of this sentence, but that's okay. It's fair to assume that Al that whole ass time was at least behind a bookshelf going, right? Because, he probably knew that was there and everything. Or, maybe he knows about Subaru's ability properly, and therefore, yeah, he actually would have known that there was a book. So, he sees them putting a book up somewhere. It's probably that, right? With that said, he took that book, right? This is my theory, and it is very likely the obvious result, but took that book and just stuffed it into Subaru's bag. Zip. There you go. Now, what does that mean? What that means is Petra and Melee, both of them are still there, right? Both of them are still active and everything. They kind of worded it, at least I think it was Melee specifically, worded it as, actually, no, it was Al himself, because he mentioned that they, had the chance to help others, or they had the chance to fight him. Now, if they fought him, they could probably win. Probably. Maybe. He has the dragon on his side, maybe not. Right? But, if they fought him alone, something like that, they could probably win. Right? Alternatively, in that scenario, that also means everybody else is dead. So they could just walk away and help everybody out. Right? So, of course, he kind of lets them on like that. But that is on purpose, we now know. Because, like I said, that book's in there. And he was very likely banking off the idea that either one of them, right? He doesn't probably know either one of them enough. We don't know who Al properly is yet, but I don't think he is going to be Subaru. If anything, he is going to be this weird alternate version sort of thing going on. Not necessarily him, but him at the same time, whatever it may be, right? That's at most. But he doesn't know them enough. But he knows that, curiosity might get the best of somebody. If he and Beatrice were sealed, and then all of a sudden there's a Book of the Dead in his bag, it's fair to assume that you would want to read it, because it's like, wait, maybe that has to do with it, right? So he banks off the idea that one of them will read it. And Petra does exactly that. Petra opens it up, sees that in there, and starts reading it. Now Petra gets to experience hell, because she has to watch what he goes through, and she is distraught, for a majority of this volume. She is conked out, and it feels horrible for him. Makes sense, she now knows about this, which is kind of crazy. She is the only character proper, other than, somebody like Echidna, but Echidna's not really fair to say. Only character proper to actually know about this, right? Not vague details like Roswell, not unknown sort of circumstances with it like Puck. This is the first proper character, I am pretty sure. I don't think I'm forgetting about any, but I could be wrong. I guess Rui. I guess you could say Rui knows, but now we have Spica. So, hard to say, right? We don't know if Rui still even exists. But she is the proper current only character who knows about all the deaths and everything. So that's real unfortunate that it's somebody who admires Subaru a lot and has to like now experience this herself and is just horrid on her mind. But more importantly, that releases Satella, because that counts as, you know, hearing about Return by Death. So Al banked off that and went, hey, Reinhard, I can't fight you. Literally, you know, it's a bit of a cheap joke, but he really did do the, I can't fight you, but she can. And then there's Satella. And now, the two of them are just clashing that whole last time. And Al gets to fuck off. Because, why, like, I mean, what else, right? It's not like he has to stick around and deal with this, right? It's just like, oh yeah, whatever, he'll handle it. Fuck it, right? Now, he's not out to destroy the world, necessarily. But this is a, you know, scenario where it's like, okay, Reinhard can probably deal with this. He's a sword saying all this, you know. This'll be whatever. I'm just gonna focus on my goal and we'll go from there, right? This is a really fucking good plan by him. Like, holy shit. He knew exactly what to do here, and it's kind of fucking insane. Oh. And then, aside from, you know, a bit more of a Petra's scenario and feeling absolutely awful for her, as well as some neat references to all the ifs. Like, I love that that's in there. That's really cool. We mainly get the reveal of Al's team and how long this mission of his is. Now, we don't know what it is at the time of this chapter, but by the end of it, we have a very vague idea. We actually still don't know too much about it, but we'll get there, right? As for Al's team, though, we have Heinkel, which I pretty much expected, right? Because as much as Al presented this idea of we're holding him hostage, something about that didn't sit right with me, right? It's like, yeah, he could technically be a hostage, but hostage in this sort of scenario that he is building, right? This plan he is building doesn't imply totally helpless, right? He's still possibly helping out with Al, but also could be just a hostage in terms of, you know, what's going on and everything, right? That's what he is. He is an accomplice to Al because he's interested in the dragon's blood stuff, right? He wants it for his wife. Absolutely makes sense, right? That was his goal with Priscilla. So, of course, here he's, you know, it's going to be related to that. And Al has the fucking dragon now, so kind of a big deal, right? And then we have the person who essentially is the actual accomplice taking him hostage, right? An accomplice taking another accomplice hostage. Yay. And I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's Y-A-E. I'm going to say yay. It could be a different pronunciation. Might be butchering that. My bad, if that's the case. It's happened before. But we have her. Now, I didn't know who the fuck this character was. Turns out, she's from a side story. They do actually go over the details, and I do like that they give you the recap in case, you know, you didn't read the side story. I didn't, so I didn't know, right? But she's been in the series already, and has actually had art. Funny enough, I think her side story volume was either, just based on what I saw, I could be wrong, but based on what I saw, I think it was the volume or two before this, like side story wise, right? So really funny that she's like introduced there. It's like, oh yeah, here's this person that almost assassinated Priscilla, and then, oh yeah, by the way, she's here now helping Al out, and I don't know, that's kind of funny to me. I kind of like that a lot. And then we also have the reveal of the plan, like I said, in terms of length. 7 days. There's a whole ass week for Al to finish this. Why? Presumably because of the circumstances. Like, I think that's something he goes over a little bit. But we don't know the full reason on why. Just absolutely, like, I think it's just the general idea of the kind of blitz sort of strategy of, okay, we are becoming an enemy of the entire world here, right? Just like Al doing this is absolutely like something that would get everybody to direct their attention at him and go kill him, right? So it's fair to say if that's like the reason, and I'm just forgetting potentially, but also if it just wasn't written in there, fair to say if that's the reason, because yeah, you would have a shit ton of enemies if it's like, oh yeah, we took the dragon, you know, this big important thing here. I took that to my side. I made an enemy of the Sword Saint. I brought out the Witch of Envy. I'm doing a whole lot to become an enemy, right? So, makes sense. And then we have a very simple chapter after that whole ordeal, but this one's interesting because it actually talks about Ye a little bit, and I don't want to talk about her in general, right? Something I mentioned in my notes, and I'm going to mention it here as well. She is an interesting character in terms of how she's built here, right? Because on the one hand, she's exactly what you would expect of a shinobi, right? She tries to seduce her way into things and all that sort of shit. That's something they go over with the Priscilla assassination stuff, is making her way in via Al and, you know, being nice to Schult and all this so that she can get close and then deal with Priscilla. But at the same time with that, we have the other side here where she is terrified of Al, right? Like right now, not during that, specifically right now, seeing how he's acting and everything and all this sort of shit, she is terrified of him, right? So much so that she is willing to, like, Al could instruct her to do anything, she'll do it, right? I mean, presumably nothing related to maybe, like, killing herself, but, like, anything else based on what she said in the text, she's just like, yeah, alright, I'll bend a knee, right? But with that said, she makes the important note of, when everything is said and done, when this plan is finished, when that week passes and they finally accomplish what they want to accomplish, she wants Al dead. Because she is terrified, right? And it's like, this is a very interesting aspect for her, right? Because I don't think she is necessarily emotionless or anything like that. But at the end of the day, she is a somewhat assassin, right? She essentially serves as one, right? Saying somewhat doesn't even do it proper justice. She pretty much is one, right? And usually, in this series in general, I mean, to be fair, the two that we knew were, like, fucked up because they were, I guess one of them might not have been as much, but both of them had a parent that was not really great by any means and was a super torturer, sadistic piece of shit, right? But assassins so far that we've seen in the series, and I mean what you would see in most media, are usually just very calm, collected, don't worry too much, right? Don't really show any emotions, all that sort of shit. They kind of just get the job done, that's it. Thing is though, it is really interesting to see a character like this, who is just a-okay with, you know, getting the job done, or whatever it may be, you know, killing, all that sort of stuff, and then she's terrified of this dude who, compared to a lot of other people in the world, aren't, like, you know, like, they are way better than him, right? In terms of, like, what they're capable of and all this sort of shit, right? So, it is really fucking cool. And I also really like that Al kind of mutually agrees on that. Like, he's like, yeah, when I'm done this plan, I also want to die, right? Like, it's like, I'm done with that shit. And so, the next step in their plan is to send the Dragon Al north, right? You know, distract people who may be tailing them, because the obvious thing now is Witch of Envy's out, Sword Saint's here, all this shit's going down. They're probably, like, informing people at the tower. We should probably go, but we're gonna head in a different direction, and the dragon's gonna head north. And with the dragon heading north, we don't have to worry, because they'll be distracted by that, and they'll be like, there, right? Like, they'll know about that, to the point that, you know, Al and all of them can fuck off. That almost works, except Felt shows up. And Felt is smart enough to know that, yeah, that's obviously just bait. And then we learn about, you know, Felt and how many people she has on her side, because she has hundreds, right? She got the, like, she enlisted, essentially, the help of hundreds of people to, like, from the slums and all this sort of shit, to just assist her in this battle. Flam's sister ends up killing Al here, right? Just nice, swift revenge, even though I'm pretty sure Flam's still alive, but, you know, well, actually, not even I'm pretty sure she is, because they go over that with the final chapter. But, regardless of that, we finally get another interesting fight in the series, because at this point, right, the obvious thing is, okay, Al's updated matrix sort of stuff and everything reverses the time, So now we're back to a point where, he's a little further back than where they're at, so they got to figure out what to do. And we get a cool fight here where it's essentially not really a fight, but it's one group trying to get the jump on the other. Now, Al isn't necessarily trying to fight if need be, but the obvious thing is they kind of have to by the end, right? So, Old Man Rom, who's with Felt, that absolute strategist that he is, because, I mean, we know about the EX novels and all that, and like the, sword demon stuff. We know what he's like. He's already, pretty much ready to have his group smoke out the place and everything. And Al's getting help of Ye to essentially put a bunch of strings around, string people up, whatever it may be. It's a constant, like, back and forth. And something I really like with it is it jumps back and forth between them, right? Jumps to Old Man Rom, here's his plan. Jumps to Al, here's his plan. Jumps to Old Man Rom, continuation. Al, continuation. It's really fucking cool, and I like the direction of that. And then we get a brutal, constant loop for Al, where he's getting killed by one of the members of the enemy group. I don't fully remember his name. I think it is somewhere in my notes. There it is, Dotaro, I think. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that correctly. I could be wrong. Again, similar to, I'm not entirely sure. But, regardless of that, he is getting killed constantly by this dude without any effort, really. This guy's like just punching him, whatever it may be, stomping on all this sort of shit. Dealt with. Boom. Gone. Right? And he's trying to figure out how they even know that they're there. Right? Because something to point out is he's attacking at certain points before they even move out. Right? Sometimes they're like waiting there a little bit. He still attacks. So it implies that somehow he knows where they are. Now the obvious conclusion is conversation mirrors. We know about those before, right? So all three of them go in, grab some conversation mirrors after knocking them out. Except, notice how I said free. That's because they're duds. That those aren't the real ones. This group, these thieves and all this sort of stuff, all these people from the slums, of course, plan ahead with this sort of shit. The conversation mirrors are multiple in quantity. There is a shit ton that are available. So, essentially, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, he found the definitive one by just picking one out of the pocket. There's a lot of them. And one of them is probably correct. But who knows which one? And who knows who actually has the correct one, right? Because there's likely a group leader. So, it's a really fun twist to the whole thing. Eventually, he does actually find the proper one, breaks it, all that sort of shit. Knocks out Ratchins because he's the one who has it. Though he's trying to really struggle and keep the fight on. And Old Man Rom's really surprised, right? Because by this point in the loop, right, this is a brand new loop when he immediately breaks that one. By this point in the loop, he's going real quick with that plan, right? And it feels almost a little off. And apparently, both of them are playing for time, right? Both Al and Old Man Rom. So it's a really interesting thing where both of them are trying to corner each other, and also both of them are going by real quick with their plan. It's really fucking cool. And now we get a really long, really fucking great chapter of this fight. And I'm going to read off my notes a little bit on occasion just to fully remind myself of everything, because a lot of shit happens here. But, alright, so we go back to this whole sort of fight thing going on, of course, but from Al's perspective, we cut right past him being the pig dude, right? Like, they waste no time here. It's not like we go through multiple loops again. Beaten, boom, gone, right? So, Old Man Rom, a little bit curious on what the fuck is going on, right? Because that dude beaten with very little effort, and then all this previous shit with the conversation mirrors was happening. So, he's starting to think, okay, well, we got a guy who can, use an ability with his eyes, right? Which we'll learn about. But we got a guy who can do that, right? So maybe Al has something like that, right? Maybe he knows what's coming a few seconds ahead, or he might be able to see these things even from afar, right? But you know what it could be? It could be somebody in the air, right? So they shoot up the, I don't remember what they are. It's like night destroyers or something, whatever it may be. The stuff that was used with the white whale fight, right? So they shoot those into the sky, brighten that whole shit up, right? Because the big thing with that is like, okay, the sky is brightened. If there is somebody up there peeking down at us, I mean, essentially flashbang, here you go, right? Just, they ain't gonna be seeing shit anymore, so they won't have any eyes in the sky. The problem is, they sent a few more of their group in while that was happening. Those conversation mirrors are broken, which then implies to Old Man Ron that, okay, so it's not that, but it could be spirits, right? It'd be a little weird. Spirits wouldn't necessarily do this sort of thing, but we have to be sure. So they throw a bunch of stones around, magic stones, regular stones based on what they almost write it as, right? And boom, all that shit's out, right? But there's no spirits that are assisting them, right? More conversation mirrors are gone, and there's no spirits that are assisting them. So now he's kind of just sitting there, like, something's not right, right? Because the spirits aren't helping him. There's nobody in the sky, and he knows all of this shit ahead of time, right? That's a little strange, right? He dealt with Doltaro immediately. He dealt with Ratchins immediately. All this sort of shit. That's a little fucky, right? He could have some sort of divine protection or whatever it may be, but none of them would be nearly this strong and have something this absurd. So then he brings up an idea. And holy shit, I never considered this before. I don't think they pointed it out like this before. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe it did happen and I just don't remember. But I don't remember ever seeing anything like this written in the text. He brings up the idea of this could be an authority, right? This might be an authority of, like, whatever it may be. You know, pride? I don't know. Something, right? Now, I read that and I'm like, shit, that's really fucking cool, but I don't know if that's the case. Then we cut to Al and it is pretty much confirmed in the text that it is. Which is like, okay, holy shit, right? That doesn't necessarily mean it is like absolutely pride or whatever it may be, right? I mean, we know about just other, essentially, witch factors that are in there, right? In that whole sort of group, so there could be more than we think, right? Obviously, just off the bat of that. But knowing that this potentially could be pride or something like that is really fucking crazy. Like, he even shows up to fight Old Man Rom, and some of the stuff he says, like, Old Man Rom sits there and goes, you know, a lot of the stuff you're saying sounds a whole lot like somebody who, you know, represents pride. And it's like, oh, like, I know they always mention that with Subaru and that whole thing. I get that, right? I fully understand that, but it's just like, dude, what the fuck does this imply, right? This is so fucking cool if true, right? Like, holy shit. I am so damn curious. But anyways, the actual final battle between them begins. Yeah, he tries to go in. Immediately that dude with the, you know, sight ability I mentioned comes in, essentially stops her in place because of its eye, and the Flam's sister comes back in. I think it's, I almost want to say Grassus. It's a real hard name to like properly read, but she comes in, kicks Ye, whatever it may be. Ye's still alive, but injured, right? And now we just properly have Al versus Old Man Ron. Now, this isn't necessarily too hard of a fight, because obviously, you know, he can always just have his authority go in, right? And fix this situation for him. But Old Man Rom's actually deduced how this whole sort of thing works. He's figured it out. So now, with Dragon Al returning, he essentially uses both Al and him as this like meat shield to take this blast that's oncoming, right? The unfortunate thing for Al is this is Old Man Rom's victory, right? Because he can't do shit about this, right? He is waiting for the exact moment of something like, you know, Al updating his matrix and then this appearing and all this to happen, that it's like, oh, it's perfect, right? and then Al's fucked, because what does he do to counteract that? Nothing, right? He can't do shit to counteract that. So it's like, you're just forced to take the hit. So that is essentially Old Man Rom's victory condition. That is until Felt shows up, which I did actually forget to mention. They also bring out the Star Staff that was used against Lai from Arc 5. They bring that out, and even Al manages to deal with that. I mean, he throws Heinkel in the way, but like, he manages to deal with that as well, which is especially fucked up, right? That is the guaranteed hit weapon, and it didn't hit Al, right? Like, Al knew it was coming, and it didn't hit him. But anyways, Felt shows up, and I wanted to bring up that staff because Felt shows up with the staff on the ready to use once again, just like she did before, right? And that right there is Al's victory condition, because Felt being there, that's it. All they need to do is just grab her, right? Or just get her involved or whatever it may be. Like, it won't be hard for them to do, you know, anything about her, right? If they kill Felt, whatever it may be, that's it, right? Old Man Rom loses. So, right then and there, she essentially activated his lose condition. It's over. Al wins. Just straight up Al wins. I also forgot to bring it up there, but I do like that the victory conditions for them are total opposites of what they should be. Like, Old Man Rom's is dying with Al, and then Al's is just Felt showing up, which would seem like a loss because that's extra help, but that's actually the victory condition for him. I like it. It's cool that the opposites are actually how they win, essentially. Anyways, after that whole ordeal, we learn about Felt's plan, right? The further details of it. One of the things being, you know, at any point, she herself can call it off because she doesn't want Old Man Rom dying, right? Or at least just like outright throwing his life away, which this is what that counts as. So she makes the note of, if that happens, I'm coming in and we are surrendering, right? And I mean, that is what happens. But something else is banking off of that dragon, right? Much like Old Man Rom did, she banks off that dragon, because prior to this, when that dragon was Volcanica, pretty sure I'm remembering that name correctly, it's been a bit, right? I know it's like obviously like one of the most important names, but I tend to blank on that stuff sometimes, and I'm like, I think it's that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Back when it was Volcanica, something to note is that Felt went here with Melee and Reinhardt, as we know. Now, when Felt interacted with the dragon, it thought she was Farsail Lugunica, the one who originally, you know, spoke with it and had this agreement with it and all this protection sort of thing, right? That sort of thing going on. So, what she banks off of with that is, regardless of if this is the same dragon or this is a dragon with a changed mindset, it will probably remember her. Fun fact, Dragon Owl partially remembers her because, reminder, this whole scenario with the Dragon Owl is only happening because of a Book of the Dead. Meaning, even if that, you know, is still who he is, right? He is still Owl. There is still a part of him that is Volcanica. So seeing Felt and having Felt say no, that pretty much just calls it off, right? He's like, well, sorry, I can't do shit, right? They do surrender though, regardless of that. Felt is taken hostage, and now they're on the way to Kararagi to throw something out, as Al calls it, or rather names it. But like, I am curious on what that is, right? Because we finally know the purpose of this trip, right? This week-long plan is to go to Kararagi and throw something out. We don't know what, we don't know who or whatever it may be, right? It could be like he's, I almost wanted to say like he could be going to the Hall of Memories, but that wouldn't be there. That would literally be back at the tower. So, I don't even know what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to do something there. I guess we'll find out, right? Could it be related to Sirius? I mean, I think Sirius was still in prison there. Maybe. Who knows? I guess we still have to wait and see. That's just up in the air right now. And then we have our final chapter, which, shockingly, is not very long. And I'm not going to say it's not important, because it absolutely is. But it is kind of simple on what happens here, right? A lot of this is just characters talking. Like, it's Old Man Rom's group talking, it's Al and Ye talking, and then it's Al, Heinkel, and Felt talking. And something I do like about them talking is that Felt points out to Heinkel, she's like, listen, I get why you're doing this, right? I fully get why. Me and Reinhard were trying to deal with that, right? Like your wife and everything. I mean, it's Reinhard's mother, right? We were trying to help out as well, right? That's part of our like list of things to do. But our method of going about it is different than your method of going about it. And something with that is that she doesn't actually say if, you know, Al's method, or not Al's method, but rather Heinkel's is bad, right? She says it's neither good nor bad. It's just a different method that he is taking. And I'm sure she's not in full support of it, obviously, but it is a thing of like, she understands why he's doing this. Now, she doesn't necessarily like Al at all for what he's presumably trying to do. We don't even fully know yet, and she doesn't either. But, you know, she can see where Heinkel is coming from. Now, in terms of Al, right, he needs a little bit more here, right? Because now they've got an issue. They got this whole group ready to jump them at any point, right? Old Man Rom's group isn't going to give up. There may be a hostage, but they can jump them at any point, right? And then Al's fucked over. So to deal with that, Al extends the time on when he's going to update his matrix, right? He is not going to be, you know, constant with it every now and then. It is going to be, he's going to hold out as long as he can till essentially his mind is about to break, and then goes update, right? Boom. That's it. But then there's an additional step in his plan, and it's to get some extra help. He goes to just this nearby sort of area. I don't know if they listed the proper full details about it, but he goes to this proper sort of area, goes in, shatters something, and tells the person there that if they're willing to help out, he won't kill them. And we get some text from that person revealing it to be Roy. Roy is now on his side, and I mean, you know what? It's interesting. He deserved to actually have a... Listen, I call him a jobber constantly, and he's not necessarily a jobber. I mean, you could bring up the Arc 5 stuff, but I always look at it from the perspective of Arc 6. Roy ate shit with Arc 6, right? That dude tried to take over a guy's body, got fucked over, and as soon as that guy disappeared, he got sealed, right? Like, the nanosecond that dude disappeared, he got sealed. It was a real disappointing run for him. Like Lai and Rui, right, in Arc 6, they were fucking strutting around doing shit. They were just like, fuck you, alright, next person, right? Or just like, you know, Rui literally just sitting there, Hall of Memories, okay, right, just on the ready. And then also, you know, going into Subaru's body and everything. And it's just like, these two were just ready for this shit, right? They were going absolutely crazy with Arc 6. And then there was Roy, who did one thing, failed, then got sealed, right? And like, he didn't even have any sort of scenarios where like he interacted with what was going on with Subaru, right? Like, Lai at least killed him at one point. And I think multiple points based on what the loops imply. And then, like, Rui is responsible for what happens in the third volume, right? So, it's kind of funny that it's like, you know, these two get to do a whole lot of shit there, and then Roy doesn't, which is partially why I do end up calling him a jobber, because he got fucked over so hard that it's like he felt like he was nothing. Right? And he got like sealed immediately too, and was just irrelevant for the past few arcs. I knew he would be relevant at some point. It's just that felt like shit, right? In terms of how he was treated, that was like, damn, right? It's like he kind of deserved a little bit better than that. I know he literally tried to tap into like Reed's body, and that's fucking Reed, or I guess Raid. I guess the anime, listening to it again, rather watching season 3 made me realize it is Raid. But Raid's body, like, you know, he tried to go in there and everything. But at the same time, I don't know, man. It's just a sad performance from him. But he's here now, and he will probably put on a proper performance. Also, some fan art made me believe, because there was a lot of fan art for this sort of stuff that I got on my feed. And there was a lot of people posting it with Capella in there occasionally. I was a little thrown off by that, because that made me believe, oh shit, I guess Capella's here, right? And that was like a huge deal because, you know, oh shit, melee, right? And I was like, oh no, oh, that's bad, that's real scary. But no, she's not here at all. She does not show up in this chapter at all. I had thought she did because I saw all that art, but guess not. And honestly, it's for the better. She should have her own proper arc, and if she is gonna have an arc, this isn't me being like, I like these two characters a lot and I like the dynamic in terms of how fucked up it is, so, you know, I want it to be this way. But like, genuine, if Capella is gonna be relevant in an arc, melee probably has to be a massive focus, right? I think that arc 6 line that Subaru said about like, oh, you know, after this, what do you say to me becoming your father, right? I think that will play a significant role when Capella does show up, because it will be, you know, this person who would be willing to take her in, and, you know, it is decently nice. He's not necessarily perfect, but he is like, you know what? He's good, right? He is good for this sort of scenario. Versus the actual parent that she has, who is like the worst out of potentially any series out there, right? I am not trying to like just overblow Capella and everything in that regard. She's probably the worst in terms of that shit. The stuff she did is awful, right? So I think that would be absolutely safe for later. Now, in regards to Roy, I do want to talk about that before mentioning the final thing of this chapter. Some people might be curious, in a sense, much like me, on how well Roy will be treated here, right? And it's a little concerning that it's at the end of the second volume. Is what I would also kind of say if it weren't for the fact that I brought up Arc 6 earlier, and I brought up Rui, right? She is, technically speaking, not even just her, why Roy himself, all these characters are not relevant in Arc 6 until like the third volume, right? And that's out of 5. So assuming Arc 9 also goes to 5, which I wouldn't doubt, this is a very short plan for Al, so in terms of actual timeline, it could be. But in terms of that whole thing, Rui and all them show up third volume, but they are fantastic for that whole run of Arc 6, right? They are great antagonists. Which kind of points out that, yeah, even if they show up, like, not necessarily this late into the game, but, you know, this late in a sense where it's like it could be the halfway point, maybe a little bit over that, don't mean shit, right? She'll still get her time to, or like, you know, much like her in Arc 6 and how she'll still get her time to shine. Roy here can still very easily get his time to shine. I don't doubt that at all, and I think he can be handled well. I just hope he is, because let's be realistic, he's not making it out of this arc alive. Let's be absolutely he's not getting sealed again. I think Roy is absolutely dying this arc, right? That is like for a fact. On top of the fact, we're in Arc 9. There's like, because I think it got changed to 13. I want to say 13. Pretty sure it was 13 because I think it was 12 before. We're at like 13 arcs in total for the series, and it's Arc 9 currently that's being written. It's probably like going to be Roy who dies this arc, and then Capella will be the next arc or the arc after, which will probably be a Crush arc, right? That's another big significant thing, is Capella might also relate to stuff going on with Crush and everything. That would make sense, right? Especially because of the royal family, right? So as much as Felt could also line into that, right, sort of ordeal, if she is the focus right now, then that kind of means that all these other characters are going to be saved for later. And it's like, okay, it's Roy right now for the Archbishop, and here's, you know, Felt's group as the focus for the candidate, right? Makes sense to me. With that said, let's get on to the final point of this chapter, and that's Petra actually making her return. She's fully recovered and is ready to just go in. You know, she jumped onto Patricia and is just riding that shit, and she's about to go in, telling Melee to leave everything to her, and is talking to Subaru in her head. Now, it's just a little, and I'm only saying a little, because honestly, I feel like it's probably not him, but it could be. Could be some weird shit going on. Not Subaru actually in her head. But it is interesting that, you know, essentially they're working side by side here, you know. She's talking to him, all this. I kind of like that it didn't just fully destroy her, right? Like, it did temporarily for what she was dealing with. But now, actually going through this and just running through it's working out for her. I do think that partially some of this could be, opposition to Al, right? Al has, himself instilled into the dragon, right? So this could be Subaru, like, in Petra's mind and therefore working in tandem, much like that dragon, right? Like, opposite scenario, if you will, where Subaru isn't actually there, he's just in her head, whereas these two are actually here, and they have to constantly update their stuff to, show off what happened previously to each other and everything. Or not what to each other, but rather Al shows it to Dragon Al. You know how that works. Very interesting. It really does show that this is going to be a very big arc for Petra, and I'm very excited for that. This is going to be fun. It's going to be real fun. That was the volume. That was honestly really damn strong, right? I felt like that was consistently just boom, 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 boom. Like, every single chapter was very enjoyable, right? I'm not going to say that the previous volume wasn't, but the previous volume had downtime, right? I mean, the previous volume literally started in Wallachia, right? The first few chapters were still there. And then we get the middle point, where it's like we're heading towards the tower, where we do learn some interesting things, right? And then we have the last few chapters where, shit starts going down. That's how it usually is. But, first volume, standard, that's how it goes. Still very enjoyable. But then we get this one. And this one's really good. Honestly, I'm excited if Arc 9 can remain this consistent with its quality, because this is the actual planned arc, right? If it can remain consistent like this will be great, right? This will be absolutely fantastic. Could be better than Arc 5. I would be willing to guess that it could be, right? I'm not saying that for a fact. I'm not predicting that for a fact, but I'm saying it definitely could be, because so far it is really strong. This is a fantastic arc so far. And yeah, there we go. That's it. Bye. I'm just kidding. No, we're not gonna end off just like that. I'm not gonna be like, oh, bye guys, like right after all that shit's done. No, I mean, it's a usual thing. We just talk after the whole thing's said and done. And I mean, that's what we're doing here. Thank you all for watching, obviously. This did take a bit to actually properly do, because I was reading the chapters as they were coming out, and then I got busy, and then I was writing, and then I was making the teasers for my writing, and then, all this sort of stuff. So a whole bunch of stuff jumped in the way, as well as like actual episode reactions and everything. It was tough to juggle all of it, but you know what? It still worked out. We still got to go through it later than I would have hoped, but it's okay. The nice thing is we actually got the volume art by now. I mean, that happened a few weeks ago, but we got the volume art by now, so I can actually use that. Because I'm going to be real, I am still working on my teasers. I'm still working on actual art for the series and everything, and all this sort of shit, and other things I need to complete in terms of that. So, as much as I would love to make a cover, like, I had some ingenious cover ideas of, I was like, oh, it's going to be like this circle, and it's like, there's going to be half of it's white, right, in the background, and then the circle is going to be gold in terms of color, but the top of the circle will have a profile shot of Reinhardt's face, and then there'll be a bottom one, and that'll be in this like dark sort of area, and that'll have Al, right, and it'll be like them just in this sort of like circle, like yin and yang sort of thing. It would be really cool, and I did really want to make that, but unfortunately didn't line up well in terms of time. I had the idea ahead of time, didn't work out. It's okay, right? And then I had another idea in terms of like, when I thought Capella was in there, I was like, oh, we could do Felt and Capella, right? That's the perfect like comparison of the two, because they're both essentially royal bloodline sort of people, right? So it would be fitting to have them, but then turns out Capella's not even in there, and once again, didn't have the time. That's all right. We'll eventually get to it, obviously, in terms of actually making like thumbnails and all that. I do want to obviously do that. I think for the big videos, guaranteed we're going to do that. Whereas the reviews, when I can, I will, right? Or rather, as soon as I start, I think I will probably remain consistent with it. It's just, we have to reach that starting point, and we'll eventually reach it. It's just really unfortunate timing, because like, fuck, I'm even doing the cover, right? I'm doing the cover of Act 2 of A Demon's Tales, so it's like, if I'm doing the cover for that whole shit, I'm trying to focus on that and make that look good, I kind of want to prioritize that over, something like this. But that's okay. With that said, though, I mean, I don't know what else there is to discuss. We obviously have same big videos on the way, like I mentioned before. All that other shit, right? I mean, later tonight, like when you guys are seeing this, we have the live stream. That'll be fun, right? I don't know what else to really say here. It's the general standard sort of thing. Hopefully, I mean, if you're interested, you might be looking forward to Act 2 of A Demon's Tale, right? It's coming along smoothly. Did take some time, obviously. Like I said, I've been busy, but I am very proud of what I'm writing. It is crazy. I'm not gonna lie, right? I'm just gonna say this ahead of time because this is really anything spoilery or whatever it may be. Nothing that goes inside my writing, but it is shocking when you write something long in terms of chapter length. You kind of start to get consistent with it, right? I have been consistently writing stuff that is like 5,000 words or more, right? I am reaching that point. I used to question when I did the first act on how Tepe did it, right? I would write 1,000-word chapters and I'd be like, whew, like that wasn't necessarily the hardest, but like, I don't know how he does like so much every single time consistently. And then, we're here now where it's like, no, I can definitely see how he probably just got really used to it. I mean, look at Arc 1, right? Look at the first few chapters of Arc 1. It's the exact same there, right? So, in a way, it's like, yeah, you kind of do start to realize writers just get used to writing a fuck ton. And then it's like, oh, right, like just consistently, like boom, 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 like massive chapter for you to read every single week, right? Or day, or whatever it may be, whatever the like release schedule is. So, yeah, that's definitely the hardest part of it, is just, writing all that and then being like, okay, time to do that again, like tomorrow or 2 days from now or whatever it may be, right? But it's coming along nicely. I'm excited to actually show that off. It's fun so far. I'm having a lot of fun. This is great. And I mean, again, if you're all interested, I cannot recommend it enough. Obviously, it's my own material, so I'm going to recommend it. But, like, I like it. I like what I'm doing here. I am proud of what I'm writing. And, I mentioned with my ADT video that I used to be worried about certain chapters and how people would, like, essentially perceive them, if they would perceive them well or not. But now, I feel confident. I feel very confident. So, it's nice. Other than that, though, there's not much else to say. Like I said, we'll be back here tonight. We'll be back on Wednesday for a reaction. Yeah, I mean, I guess the only other thing I could say is, this, I hope my mic picked me up well. I intend to actually properly read this before Arc 6 comes out, right? That is my intention, is to sit down and read this. Obviously, I'm going to pull up the Yen Press stuff to, figure out proper translations in there and everything, especially the Melee one. I saw the Melee one and it pisses me off so much. Why did they word it like that? I get that it essentially has the same message, but it's worded in a very almost creepy sort of way, and it's like, I get the intention behind it. It's just, But still, I intend to go through this, and the reason is, actually, you know what? It's good that I talk about this, because I wanted to reveal this here. Reason is, I actually want to do episode reviews, right? For Arc 6 specifically. 5, I wasn't going to do that for, but 6 is my favorite arc of any series. Therefore, every single week, when an episode comes out, I'd like to discuss them, because fun fact, I used to do this for part 5 of JoJo, because I read that ahead of time. I read that when like part 4 was still coming out. Let me see if I can actually find the thumbnail while I'm talking about it. So I read that ahead of time, and I used to sit my ass down and talk about the episodes and how, I enjoyed certain things, I had critiques about certain things, whatever it may be. I did that. I did really, that's a strange sentence to say. I did really do that. But no, seriously, that is something I used to do a shit ton on this channel. And sometimes I would be a little bit backed up on it, like I'd have a few episodes to review. But I would do it regardless, right? And I think I potentially pulled up the episodes and went play by play with them. I don't fully remember if I did, or if I just took notes down. I did one or the other. let me see here. Yeah, old videos. Yeah, I have right here. I can see it in my folder. I have the actual footage of those part 5 reviews. I could even pull up if I feel like it. I mean, I probably will here. Yeah, and then these were the thumbnails. They weren't great as thumbnails, but if it picks it up well enough, let me actually. I realize the window's right in front of it, so I'm gonna try and get this at the best quality that I can. Maybe if we flip it, maybe this will work. You can kind of see it. You can kind of see it, yeah. So I used to do those, and they were very fun. I had a lot of fun doing them, right? Despite the fact that it's like it did, you know, I feel like a thing of like, okay, every week I gotta, you know, sit my ass down and talk about it. Like, here's the actual video of it. There's me. There's me from however many years ago from when part 5 was airing, talking about it. It's great, right? But yeah, I mean, I would be willing to potentially re-upload. Actually, I think I did re-upload those on the other channel. No, I re-uploaded other videos, but not those ones. I'd be open to re-uploading those just for archive purposes, but still, I did those. I had a fuck ton of fun with those. And obviously the big thing was you read Arc 5, or not Arc 5, Part 5 ahead of time, so therefore I had no problem, you know, doing episode reviews. I mean, fuck, it's on my shelf here. That's why it's on my shelf here. It's my favorite part in terms of JoJo, so of course I have it here. I don't know that I'll do that with Part 7, even though Part 7 is my second favorite, and it is absolutely getting announced this year, but that's okay. I don't necessarily need to sit my ass down every time and review that sort of thing. We'll hold off on that. But when it comes to this is my favorite arc of any series, so I am going to read through this light novel wise to get the full proper experience, the canon experience, and then we're going to sit our ass back down to watch these episodes, like the normal reactions we do, and then review them, probably on here. I don't think I'll do it on the other channel. I think it'll be here. We'll see when we get there. It'll take some time, but I don't think it'll be that bad to do here. It'll be fun, right? It'll be a nice experience. I like the idea of it, personally. But yeah, I'm very excited to do something like that. Honestly, I might even do it for Fist of the North Star as well. Maybe, just maybe, because as much as it is my favorite series, what is there to really say? It depends on how they adapt it, right? Because it is getting a new anime, for those who don't know. And, you know, I would love to make comparisons and talk about stuff there, you know, by all means. But I think we'll wait and see. If anything, I might go arc by arc for that sort of thing, and that might work out well, like making it a large, proper sort of project to it. That might work. Whereas this, we can just go week by week, it's fine. That said though, that'll be all for this video. That's all I really have to say. You know, we've said everything we need to, and there's not much else to update on. We'll be back, obviously. I mean, fuck, well, we'll be back tonight, like I said. But in terms of actual proper videos, we'll be back. I'm just working on a Demon's Tale, all that sort of stuff. When I actually do have the cover done, I do want to update the profile of the channel and everything. Because, listen, I like the art on my channel, right? In terms of like the pictures I chose. I really like the banner. I think the banner fits. But I think everything I've drawn recently, apologies for that. I think everything I've drawn recently is absolutely like double in effort than those. I guess maybe effort's not the correct term, but just in terms of quality and all that. Quality's what I want to say. Quality and all that, way better, right? Like these I still really enjoy, but it's like, dude, the teasers I've been working on and just all this other shit and everything. I made a sketch the other day and I can't post it, but man, it was such a fucking good sketch that I sat there and I'm like, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna keep this for way later because it is something that is spoiler related, and it's not even for Act 2. It is just spoiler related for later in the series, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna draw it properly when we get to that point, and that will be in the actual chapter. And I want people to sit there, see that, and go, oh, right. So it's just like that can wait, but obviously actual channel stuff and everything, I do want to update that. Just in terms of just like having Act 2 on there. Something I do almost want to have is the banner. I kind of want to have each of the main protagonists kind of just like there, like one by one, right? Like up and down sort of thing. That's something I definitely want to do. And maybe you'll see that like change happen soon, right? I'm down to create that. I just have to figure out how to go about it. I have a specific format that I do for that sort of thing, for the channel banners. I just have to find the file. But yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. I've said that a lot this video, but that's okay. With that said, properly this time, we are going to end off. So take care. Have yourselves a great night. See you tonight. If, you know, I mean, if you're going to be here for the live stream or the video recording of it or whatever it may be. See you then. But stay safe. Have yourselves a good one. And I will see you all with the next video, whatever it is. You know, whatever you decide to return with. Or maybe not. That's okay too. Farewell, peeps. Or with Act 2. Farewell, peeps.